What up, guys? Concepto here. And yeah, I know this video is a long time coming. As you can tell, like, my character looks completely different in the video compared to now. This is the end of the season. The season has ended. And in that video, it was in mid-season there. Alright, as you know, I did make Legendary with this spec, and I just want to share it with you so you guys can get a general idea of how to use it and things like that. You guys play around with it during the off-season. So maybe when the next season comes up, you'll be more comfortable with it and can have some fun. I love this spec a lot. I honestly, like, every time I try to deviate from it, I just end up going back to it. So we're just going to go over it. Obviously, we're going to just go over the build real quick. We're in Strength, Defense, and Berserker. It's pretty self-explanatory why we picked certain things. Obviously, we went Berserker Power. We didn't choose Axe Mastery, even though we're using dual axes, because Axe Mastery is just, honestly, just isn't that good. And we're our great sword is gonna be our main weapon that we start the fight with, and our axes are usually what we swap to and try to get our final burst in with, especially with AOE cleaves. All right, so we of course went Strength, Great Sword, and Berserker Power. Now down here, you usually might click Cleansing Eye or Rousing Resilience. We went with Last Stand and Eternal Champion on the bottom instead of using Bloody Roar. Now the reason we chose this is because, well, these two traits provide buffs, and I'm going to tell you exactly why we chose those. Now if you see our Amulet here, we're using Seeker's Amulet. In the beginning of the season, we were also using Diviner's Amulet, which is right here, which gives us 1050 concentration. Now we went with Seeker's near the end for 1050 precision and 560 concentration. However, Seeker's does give us that extra precision, but it lowers our boon duration to 30%. So in order to get it up to almost 70%, which is at 67 right now, is we're using Rune of Leadership. Now, if you didn't want to use this combo, you can go ahead. But at the beginning, I was using Diviners, like I said, and then I had maybe, it depends on what I wanted to do. Maybe I was using Surging, or I was using Rune of Strength there. This is kind of like what I ran in the beginning of the season, and that so forth. But I recommend, doesn't matter which one, just try it out, see which one you like the most. If you do use Diviner's Amulet, I will say, if you use your Healing Signet and Berserker stance on cooldown, you will have permanent resistance. So you just utterly dominate condition damage classes. But you lose you lose a bit of damage there. So I don't know, just whatever you prefer. All right, now when it go to our sigils, we're using Sigil of Air and Sigil of Blood. Now our greatsword is going to be what we're starting the fight with, and then of course we're using two axes on the other hand, and we have swap sigils here. One is Hydromancy and the other one is Doom. Now I do recommend using Doom because, like I said, when we swap to our axes, that's kind of our pickup, like what we're trying to end our opponent there, and just that little bit of poison can stop their heal at that point. And we chose Sigil of Blood because it does help us stay alive a little bit longer because we are lacking a shield. And that's pretty much it for there. I'm gonna go ahead and show you why I chose my traits here. Now in my traits, I have the Healing Signet and Berserker Stance. Now, obviously, these are almost two staples because resistance is a big deal. Now we have, as you can see, Healing Signet gives us 11 seconds right now since we have our Diviners equipped and things like that. If we had Leadership, it will go up to even 12 seconds. Go here and just show you just how much. And see, boon duration's at 100, and then we have 12 seconds from there. And then we this only says 6 seconds, but it gives you a total of 30 seconds because of the resistance interval that it says down there below. All right, of course we're using Endure Pain. We're lacking a shield. We need that extra go. And we're using Signet. Now this is a Signet you won't see a lot of people use. The reason I chose this, and you can ask my Twitch viewers, they agree with it. Two reasons. One, we need to have our power at 2200 more, or we're just not going to be hitting that much. As you can see right now, we're using the Rune Leadership and Diviner's Amulet. Even with Seekers, we have 2200 power. Now, if we don't have this, we will dip down to only 2000 power, and you're going to see a big difference in your damage if you go below there. However, the main reason we use this is because of Guardians were such a big deal at the beginning of the season. So my thoughts, the reason I created this spec was because I was thinking of how did last season go, and what are the best specs of last season? Because a lot of people are not going to be trying new things until someone else figures it out for them. So they're just going to be using the pickup specs of last season. So we went with Diviner's Amulet for a large amount of resistance, since Condition Warriors and Condition specs were a thing, and then we also went with Signet of Might to have our attacks be unblockable versus all those pesky Dragon Hunters that seem to be the new flavor of the season. So, and of course, we need to get a good opener on a Dragon Hunter. And as you know, if you are a Dragon Hunter, you know that if you are not blocking, you are dying. So that's why you invest in so much blocking, because you want to have a lot of damage. But if you are not blocking, you are dying. And I have eradicated a lot of Guardians, because most of them will just stand in their little traps. You stun them, you go unblockable, you stun them, and then you erase them. Pretty simple. Some Guardians will see this early, or even in the second time you fight them, they may start dodging away. But of course, just mind your Signet of Might and mind your headbutt. You don't ever want to headbutt without popping your Signet of Might on a Guardian first. Now, and of course we're using headbutt, as I just said it's 5 seconds ago. If you were to change anything, I say keep the loadout, except for if you want to change Signet of Might, you can of course choose Balanced Stance. Or even if you were having trouble with Rangers, I guess. Usually you won't see a lot of teams with more than one Ranger, but if you do, I would probably go with Bull Charge. Bull Charge usually helps me in that regard with them, especially because they kite a lot. But if you do want to enter Stronghold, I almost would just go with Balanced Stance, because that extra running around in the Stronghold maps is definitely going to help. And plus, it helps you get the mist essence, the mist and things like that, and down the Lord. So that's almost a must for Stronghold, but not necessarily, oh look at this guy, super scrapper not, but not necessarily for Conquest. But I always tend to go back to Signet of Might. I'm always feeling like, oh man, I wish I had Signet of Might equipped. Alright, I'm gonna just pop down here and I'm gonna show you just a quick string on, like a quick damage string. Pretty simple. I'm going to treat this thing as if it's a Guardian. Now, on Guardians, they do two things. They blind you and they block you. So, that's 2 layers of defense versus your headbutt. So if you were to just go headbutt in, you might miss because of blind, or you might run into a block. So what you need to do is make sure you hit your Signet. Make sure you hit your Signet or Berserker Stance. I usually hit my Signet since it has a lower cooldown and it gives me Might. And the resistance lasts so long that I'm pretty sure, like, it gives me enough. Let's just say that. And then headbutt. So this gives me more damage. And of course you want to roll in. The reason why you want to roll in is because you have stick and move. It's going to give you 10% more damage. We need to get as much damage on this Guardian as we possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my Signet of Might. I'm going to roll in. Then headbutt. What you can do is you can hit your Signet of Might right before you headbutt. I kind of did it a little bit after, but it depends on your target. If you clearly see that they're not blocking, you can go ahead and just wait until you see the blocks appear. But it's really important to get a headbutt on a Guardian as early as possible. Now, when we swap to our axes, what you want to do is again roll. Since we're using Last Stand, we're going to be getting a lot of endurance regeneration, so don't be afraid to roll around. And plus, we have Reckless Dodge, so when we roll, we're dealing some extra damage. And of course, so what we're going to try to do is we're going to roll. We're going to swap to our Sigils. They're going to proc, dealing extra burst damage, and then we're going to go ahead and use our axe skills. We're going to, let me just try to show you from a different page here. What we want to do is Dual Strike. Dual Strike is one of our strongest attacks. Alright? So when we swap, we want to do we want to get into Dual Strike, but what you can do is if you have time, if you got a good, if they're stopped or if you got a headbutt on, you can Cyclone Axe, and then you can Dual Strike, and then you can Whirling Attack. So I'm just going to go ahead and simply just roll in here and swap my weapons and then do that. And that's just a simple combo you can do, of course. Now for a more advanced combo, Let me just show you the whole thing. Since we're using a Berserker's power, you definitely want to always hit your Berserk and hit your burst. Now, if you don't hit your burst, if you miss your burst, or if your burst is blocked, it's gonna mess up your damage. It's gonna mitigate a lot of the damage you're gonna deal. So that needs to be a must. That's why we have our Signet of Might, because we can't afford to miss. What is hitting it? Okay, that thing. Anywho, so we're gonna hit our Signet. We're gonna get in there, hit our Berserkers, spin, slash, and then of course we can spin again, swap our weapons, Cyclone, Dual Strike, and then Whirl, and then you can deal a pretty good significant amount of damage right there. And of course, obviously, with anything, any spec versus any class, you might have to change up exactly how you do your opener. But usually that opener with the headbutt into your Berserk and your Arcing Slice will be very effective against most classes, especially Necros. The classes that this spec absolutely dominates are, in order, Necromancers first. Necromancers, especially condition ones, literally, I can almost say comfortably 95% of the time we will defeat them. The Minion Masters, we can defeat them about 80% of the time. Now the Power Necromancers are the one that gives us the problem. Our only defense versus power is our 2 procs of Endure Pain. And that's going to go for any power spec. So mainly power specs have a higher chance of beating us. Now when it comes to the Necromancers, we just have to put high pressure on them and dodge their Lich form. Don't be afraid of it. You hit just as hard as them. Just get in there and get your damage in. I would say half the time we would come on top. Now our worst matchup are versus the Thieves. Surprisingly, we are not conditioned. We can't stack confusion, things like that on them. So the Thieves usually get the upper hand on us, especially the Dodge Thieves. There were more. Oh, this thing's making a lot of noise. I'll move away from there. The Dodge Thieves will usually just defeat us. I would say they beat us about 80% of the time, unless they mess up. And I mean, they have to really do something wrong. And we get a good headbutt in, and it only takes 100 blades to take down any thief. And sometimes if you're fighting a Daredevil, you'll notice if you get a stun, they'll begin to block. So you make sure right after you stun them, you hit your Signet of Might, and you're going to get through that block, and that's going to knock them down too. And that might even... they might even say something to you like, how did you get through my blocking? The classes that we need it's like a fair fight, I guess, versus is Engineers and Revenants. Engineers and Revenants, it usually depends on like your performance versus their performance strictly. So I can't really say too much about that. But they're not undefeatable with this spec. Another class that we do really good against is Mesmers. Most Mesmers are going to be condition damage, and as long as you keep your eye on the right one, we can get them down fairly fast. And watch for their globe. They're going to try to block you. Don't get caught in the 100 blades and get it all blocked. Make sure you hit your Signet of Might to get through that. I usually call it the bubble of losing. Like, usually when a Mesmer hits that bubble, they have given up. Most Mesmers be like, what do you mean by this? Well, most Mesmers will get comfortable being inside that little bubble because they're, oh, I'm blocking. Well, we can get right through that and open up. You pretty much just allowed us to stun you. And this goes the same thing with Warriors. Condition Warriors, we have about a 80% chance to beat. No problem. We have too much resistance for them to really deal damage to us. Now, other Power Warriors, we really have to watch their stun. We have to try to enter Berserker stance as early as possible to get our Eternal Champion. And of course, we have our Last Stand backing us up for when they open up with a headbutt. And of course, in a mirror match, most Power Warriors will deal a little bit more damage than us, but our stability outlasts them, and we can probably get our headbutt more often to them than they will on us. When it comes to Elementalist and Rangers, what you need to do is you need to just apply as much pressure as you can. Do the extended combo. Get in there, you headbutt, you Berserk, you Arc and Slice, use 100 blades, and make sure you use your Rush and your Whirling attack to try to keep up on them. Now, on Elementals and Rangers, you want to stay in your sword for as long as you can. If you see them dip down to around 30%, that's when you want to dodge roll in, swap to your axes, Cyclone Axe, and you need to make sure you hit your Throw Axe. Now your Throw Axe is going to be your Axe number 2 button, I believe. Sorry, it's your Axe 3 button. It's going to cripple them. Now the reason why cripple is so important is because we don't have run speed. Now we do have some sprint from our Fatal Frenzy and our balance stance, but in most cases that those may have ran out by the time the Ranger and Elementalists are starting to kite you. So you need to hit your Throw Axe, and once you do that, you can comfortably Cyclone Axe, because once they're slowed, they will eat the entire duration of your Whirling Axe. And of course, try to get Dual Strike in there, because Dual Strike is our hardest hitting ability. This is more burst damage than anything. Cyclone Axe, decent burst damage. This is our greatest burst damage, and this is just kind of like more consistent AoE damage. It's easy to see, easy to dodge, so you want to make sure you do that near last, when of course they ran out of dodges and they're slowed down. And if you correctly change into your axes and do this, you would most likely pressure them too much to the point where they failed to support their team, or you in fact get them down. Elementalists are a little bit harder to kill than Rangers with this spec. So if you have the option between choosing the both, I would go for the Ranger first. And of course, cleaving his pet definitely helps, because his pet will do that little revive thing. Anyways, not really sure what else I can tell you. If you want to, in Stronghold, I guess I always go with Lightbringer here, but since we have so much resistance, you could probably go with Grim, because he just annihilates all guards when he enters the room, but he does go very slow, so you want to defend him as he goes. But that's you barely play Stronghold. I guess if you want to just only queue Stronghold, remember, if you do Stronghold, balance stance over might. If you're doing Conquest. But yeah, sorry if that was a lot of stuttering and all that stuff. I didn't really want to do major cuts. I really just wanted to get this video up there. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe. Check me out on Twitch. I don't do a lot of YouTube as I want to. I kind of want to get into it again, but I'm not. It's more like going to be like a hobby. I'm not really going to try to like get monetized or things like that in YouTube. But what I do like to do on YouTube is make like music videos, music montage videos. So in my Twitch channel, if you want me to do a montage video to a song of your choice, go ahead and throw it up in on my Facebook or in the chat. I'll usually record it and see if I like it, and if I do like it, I'll add it to a list, and maybe yours will be chosen. Well, how about that one? The last video I did, the one that you saw before this video, is in fact chosen by a person, one of my Twitch followers. I never heard that song before, and when he posted it, I absolutely fell in love with it, and I had to make a video to it. But anyways, check me out at twitch.tv/Consento23. That's KONSENTO23. You'll find me there Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern time. That's Eastern America. All right. Well, not really sure what else to tell you. If I forgot something, let me know. If you have any specific questions like how to defeat certain classes or any other changes, I would rather just answer those within the comment section. So go ahead and throw those up in the comment section below, or even my Facebook at I think it's Consento 25. I want to say 25. If not, if you need to find my Facebook, go ahead and go on the Twitch page and scroll down to the panels, and my Facebook will be right there for you to harass and ask all the questions. Feel free to. I do not mind. If you're saying, hey, I cannot defeat a Mesmer, you said they were easy, what am I doing wrong? I can give you some tips on how to do that. Anyways, this is Consento. Hope to see you later. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you try out these axes. It's really fun. It's really fast and intense. It's not like your normal spec where you swap to your shield and you're like, oh man, I kind of just stopped dealing damage. All I'm doing is blocking and stunning. Maybe I can do some axe auto attacks, but you just feel like your damage fell off and you're waiting to get back to your greatsword. Your axes fill that role and damage a lot better. Anywho, check you guys later. Peace.